Sign it, Em. Don't make this hard. It's for the family. My mom's voice came through the phone like a receipt being printed flat, final, unbothered. I was standing in the Fort Cavazos motor pool with my clipboard pressed to my chest, trying to ignore the way my forearm ached from carrying it all morning. The air smelled like diesel and hot rubber. Someone shouted a cadence on the far end of the lot. My day was already behind schedule. For your future. For the family. If you've ever had someone use family as a leash, hit like and stay with me. You'll know why in a minute. I didn't answer right away, not because I was thinking, because I was counting. Pallets, serial numbers, missing tie-downs. Counting calms me down. Numbers don't guilt trip you. Mom, I said, keeping my tone even. I'm on duty. What are you talking about? The power of attorney, she said. You know, so I can keep everything stable while you're tied up with the unit. You're always busy. This is for your future. For your future. For the family. The same phrases, always polished like family silver. A forklift beeped behind me. I stepped aside, letting it pass. My left sleeve rode up. A few soldiers at the Conex boxes noticed the butterfly on my inner forearm and grinned like they'd just been handed a joke. Hey, garden girl, one of them called. You bringing flowers to the field? I didn't look over. I wrote down the pallet count and kept walking. My name is Emily Parker. I'm 28. I'm Army. Logistics. Not the kind of job anyone writes movies about, but it keeps people alive. If I mess up, someone doesn't eat. Someone doesn't get ammo. Someone doesn't get home. And still, in a place full of grown men with rifles, a small tattoo can get you labeled. They called me Butterfly Girl and Garden Girl like it was the same thing as my rank. They said I belonged in an office. They laughed at my quiet. They mistook silence for softness. At home, my mother and my younger brother did the same thing. I'd learned early that if I didn't fight, the house stayed quieter. You don't win with my mom. You just lose slower. Send me the document, I said. I'll review it. No need, she replied. Jason and I already printed it. Just sign when you get home. It's standard, for the family. She said Jason's name like he was a partner, not a 23-year-old who couldn't keep a job longer than a season. He'd been finding himself since high school. My mom financed the search. What exactly do you need it for? I asked. A pause. Not long. Just long enough to register. Mail, she said. Bills. You know. Keeping things steady. Don't be selfish. Selfish. That was her trigger word. The one that made me feel 12 again. I have to go, I said. We're doing inventory. Fine, she snapped. But don't forget who holds the house together when you're gone. The call ended. I shoved my phone back into my cargo pocket and walked into the dining facility for a late lunch. The line moved slow. Somebody's laughter bounced off the cinder block walls. When I finally got my tray, a soldier I barely knew accidentally bumped my elbow hard enough to tilt it. Food slid, the tray clattered, plastic cup rolled, fries scattered like brass. He didn't apologize. He didn't help. He just smirked at his friends like he'd scored points. I bent down and started picking up the mess, one piece at a time. Not because I had to, because I don't accept pity. I hate being looked at like something fragile. A staff sergeant nearby started to step in, then hesitated. People here learn fast. Help the wrong person, and you become part of the joke. I finished cleaning it up, dumped the tray, and walked out without eating. In my barracks room, I opened my wall locker to swap uniforms. A photo slid out from behind a stack of folded PT shirts. It wasn't a family picture. It was an old, faded shot from a night I never talk about. My face was blurred by low light, but the patch in the corner wasn't. A small, dark tab that didn't belong to my MOS, something most people wouldn't recognize unless they'd seen it before. I shoved the photo back fast. That patch wasn't supposed to exist in my current life. Neither was the second layer of my butterfly tattoo the thin lines of numbers that only show under certain light. Most people saw a butterfly and thought cute. The infantry guys saw weak. They didn't see what it covered. They didn't see what it meant. Neither did my family. Earlier that week, a shipment of small arms parts hit our bay with damaged seals. Before the crates were even opened, I read the lot numbers off the manifest and recited the specs out loud: barrel lengths, optic mounts, torque limits, because I'd memorized them on a different kind of night, a long time ago. A specialist stared at me like I'd pulled the data out of the air. "Since when does supply talk like that?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just signed the receipt and moved the crates into secure storage. Later, in the parking lot, the overhead lights washed my arm in a harsh white. The butterfly looked different under that glare, not softer, sharper. The wings broke into thin lines of numbers, almost like coordinates. A private walking past slowed down, squinted, then decided not to ask. That's how it always was with me. People saw what they wanted. They avoided what didn't fit. That night, my mom texted a picture of the power of attorney. The signature line was blank, but the date was already filled in. Tomorrow. She wasn't asking. She was scheduling, and the worst part was how normal it felt, how easy it would be to comply just to stop the noise. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned, then set the phone face down. If you've ever kept your head down just to survive your own family, tell me in the comments, did you ever regret staying quiet? And if you want the rest, tap subscribe so you don't miss what happened on that inspection. Because the next day, during a sudden inspection, someone would hand me an M4 like a dare, and the life I kept quiet would stop staying quiet. The inspection happened at 0500. Everyone was stiff with sleep and caffeine. The motor pool lights made faces look gray. An officer I'd never met walked the line with a clipboard like it was a weapon. He stopped in front of my table of inventory forms and raised an eyebrow at the neat columns. "Parker," he read. "Logistics." "Yes, sir." He glanced at my forearm. The butterfly peeked out again. He smirked. "So you're the one," he said, like I was a rumor. Then he motioned to a rifle case beside him. "Here, show me what you know." He pulled out an M4 and held it out like he expected me to flinch. A couple of infantry guys nearby leaned in, already hungry for the show. Someone whispered, "Butterfly girl with a rifle." My stomach stayed flat. I didn't give them the satisfaction of surprise. "Permission to clear it, sir?" I asked. He shrugged. "If you know how." I checked the chamber, dropped the mag, locked the bolt, and showed him empty. Routine. Safe. No drama. Then he said, louder, "Blindfold her. Let's see if logistics can do anything without a spreadsheet." A laugh rippled. Someone produced a spare she-mag like this was planned. I took it and tied it myself. Tight, clean, no gaps. Silence fell in that way it does when people expect you to fail. My fingers moved anyway. Pin, upper, lower, bolt carrier group, charging handle. I laid each piece out on the table by feel, aligned, exact spacing. My hands didn't hunt. They didn't hesitate. Like they'd done it under worse conditions than a parking lot. I reassembled it faster than the laughter could come back. When I pulled the blindfold off, the officer wasn't smirking anymore. Behind him, even the guys who hated me looked unsettled, like they'd just realized the joke was on them. "You've done this before," the officer said. "Yes, sir." "Where?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My record said logistics, and my mouth wasn't going to argue with my record. He stared a second longer, then handed the rifle back to the armorer without another word, and walked on. The line loosened. Breathing returned. People started talking again, quieter. One of the infantry guys muttered, "Whatever. Still a desk job." I didn't respond. I went back to my forms. After the blindfold test, I caught 2 soldiers filming me on their phones. When they noticed me looking, they lowered the screens and acted like nothing happened. The clip would spread anyway. Rumors always move faster than orders. Because the real problem wasn't the officer. It wasn't the cafeteria jokes. It was the fact that while they were testing me for entertainment, my mother was testing my boundaries back home. By noon, she'd called 3 times. I ignored it. I was on a forklift manifest, and 2 pallets short on a shipment that had to move by 1600. She left a voicemail anyway. "Emily, stop acting like I'm the enemy. she said. I'm trying to help. Jason's been under stress. He needs stability. You can't abandon your family just because you wear a uniform. I listened once, then saved it. Not because I planned anything, because something about her timing felt wrong. If you've ever felt that cold something's off moment, drop a quick, like those signals save people. That evening, I drove off base to see her. Family Day was coming up the next weekend. She'd said she wanted to visit, but my gut didn't trust the word. Her house was an hour away. When I walked in, the smell of canned soup and clean floors hit me my mom's version of control. Jason was on the couch with his feet on the coffee table, scrolling his phone. He didn't stand. "Hey," he said, like I'd interrupted him. My mom set the power of attorney papers on the kitchen counter like she'd been waiting with them. A pen sat on top, uncapped. "You're tired," she said, softer now. "Just sign, then you can focus on work. For your future." I stared at the dateline again. "Tomorrow." "What did you do with my mail?" I asked. My mom blinked slow. "What mail?" "Anything addressed to me. Anything from my unit." She waved a hand. "I keep it safe. You're always moving. You'd lose it." That was the second off detail. She said it too easily, like she'd rehearsed. Jason snorted. "She thinks the world's out to get her." I ignored him. "Where is it?" I asked my mom. "In my desk," she said. "Why? Are you hiding something? Are you opening it?" I asked. Her smile tightened. "Don't accuse me. Everything I do is for you and for this house." I walked to her desk without asking. She stepped in front of it. "No," she said, voice firmer. "That's private. Private." In her mouth, it meant mine. "Mom," I said, "if you want me to sign anything, you hand me my mail. All of it. Unopened." Jason rolled his eyes. So dramatic. My mom held up the papers again. "Sign first," she said. "Then we'll talk." That was the secret she didn't say out loud. She had leverage. I looked at her, really looked. The careful hair, the tight jaw, the way she'd already decided I was the difficult one. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my unit. "Joint training team arriving tomorrow. All hands." Joint training. That meant visitors. That meant people from another community, people who might recognize things the infantry guys didn't. My mom followed my glance and asked, "Who's that?" "Work," I said. She leaned in. "See? This is why you need me. You're always distracted. Sign, and let family handle the rest." I picked up the pen, held it over the line, and stopped, because for the first time, I didn't feel guilt. I felt the beginning of anger, clean and controlled. And I realized if I signed, I wasn't keeping peace. I was handing over my life. Before I tell you what I did next, drop a comment. Would you sign just to keep things calm, or would you walk out right then? If you want to see how fast a quiet soldier can become a problem for the wrong people, subscribe and stay with me. I didn't sign. I set the pen down carefully, capped it, and slid it back toward my mom like it was evidence. "You're making a scene," she said. "No," I replied. "You are." Jason stood up finally, face tight. "Are you seriously doing this?" he asked. "After everything Mom's done?" I grabbed my keys. "I'll be at Family Day," I said. "If you still want to talk, bring every piece of mail you've held. Every document you've signed. All of it." My mom's voice sharpened. "You don't threaten your family." I looked at her. "Then stop acting like my life is community property." I left before she could answer, because leaving was the only way to keep my discipline intact. Back on base, the joint training team arrived the next morning in a convoy of unmarked vehicles. No patches, no chatter, just movement. Most people didn't pay attention, but I did. I notice who carries themselves like they've been somewhere real. They were Navy SEALs, there for a combined exercise. I wasn't assigned to their lanes. I was assigned to supplies, manifests, and the boring part nobody wants until something runs out. I was checking a shipment of weapons accessories when one of the visiting chiefs stopped behind me. He didn't speak at first. I felt the stare like heat. I glanced up, and his eyes locked on my forearm. Not the butterfly itself, the numbers hidden in the wing. Coordinates. The chief's face didn't change, but his posture did. He straightened, like he'd just found something he'd been looking for. He stepped closer, lowered his voice, and said my last name like it mattered. Parker. I froze for half a heartbeat. Then I turned fully. He lifted his hand and gave me a crisp salute. Not casual, not playful. The kind you don't give unless you mean it. The soldiers around us went silent again, but this time it wasn't anticipation. It was confusion. I returned the salute automatically. The chief nodded once, then looked past me at the cluster of infantry guys who were always first to laugh. You, he said to them, voice level. You think that tattoo is a joke? One of them tried to grin. Just messing around, Chief. The SEAL chief didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. 2 years ago, he said, loud enough for the whole lot, my team walked into an ambush we didn't see coming. We were boxed in, dark, no comms. Someone on the other end made a decision in the middle of the night that pulled a bird off another task and moved intel faster than our enemy could move bullets. He pointed at my forearm. That mark is the sign we agreed on for the ones who made it out alive. The butterfly wasn't softness. It was survival. The motor pool felt like it stopped breathing. I kept my face still. My heart wasn't loud. It was heavy. I didn't want this announced. I didn't want eyes on me. I'd done the job and moved on. That's how it works. But secrets don't stay buried when other people decide their entertainment. For a minute after he finished, the only sound was a distant generator and someone's boots shifting on gravel. Then the day restarted, but it wasn't the same day. For the rest of the day, nobody called me Butterfly Girl. They avoided my eyes. They said Sergeant, like they'd remembered I had a rank. But respect from strangers doesn't fix betrayal from blood. That evening, I went to my barracks room and opened my wall locker again. Behind my uniforms, taped inside the top panel, was a small envelope I'd stored months ago, letters I'd written to myself after that night with the SEALs. Not poetic, just facts. Names I couldn't write, times I couldn't share. Reminders that I wasn't crazy, that what happened had been real. The envelope was gone. If you've ever had someone cross a line into your private space and you felt that switch flip inside you, hit like. That feeling is real. My throat went dry. I didn't lose it. I don't lose things like that. I checked again. Everything else was in place. 2 in place. Like someone had searched without making a mess. That was the off detail that made my skin go cold. Someone had been inside my locker. I went straight to my NCOIC. I need my room checked, I said. He blinked. For what? Unauthorized entry, I said. Now. When we got there, the lock showed no damage, but the tape residue inside the panel was fresh, peeled back and pressed again. My NCOIC's face tightened. Who's been in here? I didn't answer with a name. I didn't have proof. Yet, I filed the report anyway. Then my phone buzzed. Mom. Family Day Saturday. Bring the papers. We'll do this like adults. For the family. I stared at the message, then at the empty space where my envelope had been. Someone had been digging for parts of me I didn't share. And if my mom had my mail, if my brother had my signature, and now someone had my private notes, that wasn't just control. That was exposure. If you've ever felt your own family reach for your private life like they have a right to it, hit like, because the next part is where they tried it in public. Family Day on post is supposed to be harmless. Balloons, barbecue smoke, kids running around with plastic flags, command teams smiling for photos, everyone pretending the army is one big balanced life. I showed up early in uniform, clipboard under my arm, because I still had accountability checks to run before the public events started. I always arrive early. That's not personality. That's survival. The SEAL team was still on base for the last phase of training. Their chief nodded at me across the lot once, like a quiet reminder. Keep your spine. At 0930, my mom and Jason walked through the gate like they owned it. My mom wore a bright blouse and a practiced smile. Jason wore sunglasses even though it was cloudy. He scanned the area like he was looking for someone to impress. They spotted me near the logistics tent and came straight over. "Emily," my mom said, loud. "There you are. We need to handle the paperwork. Not hello, not how's your hand. Paperwork." Jason stepped forward with a folder. "We're just going to go into your office," he said. "Mom needs to pick up some stuff. You know, because you're busy. Because you're busy. Because you're quiet. Because we can." I planted my boots. "No," I said. My mom's smile didn't move, but her eyes sharpened. "Don't embarrass us," she whispered. "People are watching." She was right. People were watching. "I'm on duty," I said. "You don't go into my workspace. You don't touch my records." Jason scoffed. "Relax, it's for the family." There it was again, the phrase that turned theft into virtue. My mom leaned in, voice soft like she was protecting me. "Sweetheart, sign the updated power of attorney today. We need access to manage your mail and your accounts. You're always gone. You're not thinking about your future." "I am thinking about my future," I said. "That's why I'm saying no." She blinked, like the script had glitched. Jason tried to push past me toward the tent entrance. I stepped sideways and blocked him with my body without touching him. "Move," he muttered. "No." His jaw tightened. "You're really going to do this here?" "Yes," I said. "Because you brought it here." My mom's voice rose half an inch. "Emily, don't be selfish. Everything I do is for you and for this family." A shadow fell across us. Chief Alvarez, my commander's senior enlisted, had walked up. He didn't smile. He didn't pretend. "Sergeant Parker," he said. "Everything okay?" "Yes, Chief," I answered. Then, because I was done hiding, I added, "My family is requesting access they don't have." My mom straightened and put on her polite face. "I'm her mother," she said. "I have legal authority. It's for the family." Alvarez held out a hand. "Ma'am, show me your documentation." Jason shoved the folder forward like he was eager. Alvarez opened it, flipped through, and his expression didn't change until he hit the page with my signature. Then his eyes narrowed. He looked at me. "Did you sign this?" he asked. "No, Chief." My mom's smile faltered. "Of course she signed it," she said. "She's just stressed." Alvarez didn't argue. He turned to the legal rep standing nearby for family day processing, a lieutenant with a tablet. "Verify the dates," he said. The lieutenant scanned, tapped, and frowned. "This authorization was used for financial transactions outside the stated scope," he said. "And this signature doesn't match the one on file." Jason shifted. My mom's throat worked like she was swallowing anger. Alvarez kept turning pages. "Ma'am," he said, "you also rerouted mail addressed to a service member. That's not a family matter." My mom lifted her chin. "I kept it safe," she snapped. "She's irresponsible. She's always busy. Someone has to manage things. For her future. For her future," the lieutenant repeated, almost like he couldn't believe it. Alvarez closed the folder. "Sergeant Parker," he said, "do you want your personal and official mail returned to you immediately?" "Yes, Chief." My mom's voice sharpened. "You can't do this," she said. "We're family." Alvarez's tone stayed level. "Family is not a clearance." Jason tried to laugh it off. "Come on. She's being dramatic. We're just helping." The lieutenant lifted his tablet. "We have records," he said. "Financial authorizations used to access accounts. Documented." My mom's cheeks flushed. "You're humiliating me," she hissed at me. "In front of everyone." I looked at her, steady. "You humiliated me in private for years," I said. "This is just light." Then Alvarez did something that broke the spell. He called over 2 MPs and asked them to escort my mom and brother to the administrative building to surrender any mail and documents in their possession. My mom's smile snapped off completely. "Emily," she said, voice low and furious, "you will regret this." Jason's eyes flashed. "You think the SEAL guy makes you special now?" He spat. That landed wrong, too specific. He shouldn't have known about that conversation. That was the new secret. My family had been paying attention to more than paperwork. They were tracking my reputation, my connections, my image. The MPs guided them away. My mom kept her shoulders high, like she was the victim being marched out. I stayed where I was. I didn't chase them. I didn't plead. I just breathed. Later that afternoon, Alvarez handed me a sealed box. Inside were my letters, my missing envelope, my mail, some opened, some still sealed. Even a few pieces of my gear I'd assumed I'd lost. My mom had been holding pieces of my life like they were hers to store. I ran my fingers over the edge of the box with my good hand. The paper smelled like her house lemon cleaner and control. Alvarez watched me. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," I said. Then honest, "I'm angry." He nodded. "Use it," he said, because the story didn't end with the box. As the MPs finished paperwork, the lieutenant leaned in and lowered his voice. "Sergeant," he said, "there's something else. The financial transactions tied to your mother's authority include a request filed under your name for an emergency beneficiary update." Beneficiary. My stomach tightened. "Who?" I asked. He didn't answer yet. He just said, "You should sit down." And that was the moment I realized my mom hadn't just been taking my mail. She'd been preparing for what happens if I don't come home. What do you think the beneficiary name was? My mother, my brother, or someone else? Drop your guess in the comments before I tell you. The beneficiary name was my mother, primary. My brother was secondary. Jason laughed when he heard it, like it proved something. Like it was normal for them to position themselves at the end of my life. "It's logical," my mom said, hands folded on the table in the administrative building. "If something happens, the family needs stability." Stability. The word she used to cover everything. The lieutenant slid the printed request across to me. The handwriting wasn't mine. The signature wasn't mine. But the account number was. "You filed this," my mom insisted, still trying to keep her voice gentle for the officers in the room. "You wouldn't want strangers making decisions. For your future." I stared at her. I thought about the convoy stories I'd heard. The empty boots ceremonies. The quiet phone calls that start with, "I'm sorry." I thought about how she'd already built herself into that call. "You didn't ask me," I said. "You're busy," she replied. "You're always busy. Someone has to do the hard parts." Jason leaned back in his chair. "Stop acting like we're villains," he said. "We're family." He said it like a password. I looked at the lieutenant. "Can we revoke this today?" I asked. He nodded. "Immediately," he said. "We can restore your control and flag any future attempts." "Do it," I said. My mom's eyes widened, not with fear, with offense. "Emily," she said softly, "you're going to destroy your relationship with us over paperwork." "It's not paperwork," I said. "It's my life." She shook her head, like I was a teenager refusing chores. "You don't understand what it costs to keep a family together," she said. "People talk. They judge. You're a soldier. You represent us." There it was, reputation. The real currency in her world. The commander's legal advisor asked my mom a series of questions. Calm. Clinical. Each answer boxed her in. "Did you open mail addressed to your daughter?" "Yes, to keep it safe." "Did you use the power of attorney to access accounts?" "Yes, to keep things stable." "Did you file beneficiary changes without direct permission?" "Yes, because it's for the family." She said "for the family" 3 times like it was a defense. It wasn't. When the advisor finished, he looked at me. "Sergeant Parker," he said, "we can pursue this formally. Fraud, misuse of authority, mail interference, your choice." My mom's mask cracked for the first time. "You wouldn't," she said, voice thin. "Not to your own mother." Jason leaned forward, eyes sharp. "If you do this, you'll be alone," he said. "No one will take you in when the army chews you up." That was his last move, fear. I felt something settle in my chest, heavy and quiet. I wasn't afraid of being alone. I'd been alone in my own family for years. I looked at the advisor. "I want it documented," I said. "I want a restraining order for access to base and my records, and I want the power of attorney voided in every system you can touch." My mom inhaled like she'd been slapped. "No," she whispered. Emily, please, for your future. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't posture. I said one sentence, slow enough that it didn't shake. Family is not an excuse to take my life. The room stayed silent. The advisor nodded and started the process. My mom tried one last pivot, softer, tears ready. I did this because you're strong, she said. Because you can handle it. That line was almost worse than the theft. It meant my pain was a resource. I stood up carefully, splint still on my forearm, and looked at her. Strength isn't permission, I said. I walked out. Outside, the late afternoon sun hit the concrete. Somewhere on the field, a kid laughed at a balloon popping. Family Day still rolled on, bright and shallow. Chief Alvarez waited by the door. You did good, he said. I did necessary, I answered. Over the next week, things changed fast. The unit issued a directive. My family was barred from installation access without escort. My mail routing was updated. My accounts were secured. The power of attorney was formally revoked and added to a fraud watch list. My mom called from different numbers, left voicemails. Come home, she said. Let's talk. Don't throw away your future. I didn't respond. Jason emailed me a long message about loyalty and debt. He ended with, You wouldn't exist without Mom. Remember who you owe. I deleted it. Then, in the motor pool, the same infantry guys who used to laugh started acting careful around me. Not respectful, not friendly, just aware. The officer who'd mocked me during the blindfold test approached one afternoon when I was checking a weapons shipment. Sergeant, he said, awkward, I owe you an apology. I didn't accept it. I didn't reject it. I just nodded, because apologies don't rewrite history. They just admit it. Later, the SEAL chief passed through again before their convoy rolled out. He stopped beside my table, glanced at my arm, then at my face. You good? He asked. Yes, I said. He nodded once. Keep it that way, he said, and don't let anyone rewrite what that mark means. When he left, the motor pool felt quieter than usual. Not because people were afraid, because they were thinking. I went back to work. I still arrived early, still kept my books clean, still carried my clipboard like a shield. But it didn't feel like a shield anymore. It felt like a tool. A reminder that I can hold my own life in my hands and keep it straight. Here's what I'll ask you, because it's the question that keeps echoing after everything. If your family used "for the family" to justify taking control of your money, your mail, even your future, would you cut them off or try to forgive them? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and I think a lot of us need to hear each other on this. Because the truth is simple. No one gets to hide behind love while they steal your dignity. Not even family.